Suddenly, you hear the front door creak open. You can finally get some sleep. You call out to your mom, hoping she'd lock the door so you don't have to go downstairs. She doesn't respond, but it's nothing too unusual. Her hearing has been a bit dodgy recently, probably due to her new boss. She shuffles in the kitchen, and you return your gaze back to the screen of your laptop. True, you need to sleep as soon as possible, but there were a few things to do first. As you refresh your newsfeed for the 10th time, you spot something on the screen. No, not on the screen. Something reflected onto it. Something in the window behind you. You whip around, but there isn't anything out there in the darkness. It's probably nothing, just a bug, or whatever. You turn back to Facebook and pick up the latest on some giant argument between some popular kids. You refresh to keep up with the stream of new comments, when all of a sudden you lose connection. Stupid router. It always cuts you off at the random moments. You make a mental note to remind your mom, who's fiddling around still in the kitchen, to buy a new one. You get up, walk out of your room and thump down the stairs, disgruntled. You walk into the living room and crouch down next to the main computer to restart the router. Strange, the lights on it are all off, as if it's been unplugged. Whatever. As you go to turn it on, the phone on the desk begins to ring. You stand up, narrowly missing the edge of the table, and pick up the phone. Hey, sweetie, I'm so sorry. The train's been late again. I'll be home in a bit. I'm sorry I'm making you wait up for me. It's just that... Then the line goes dead. Today was going to be the day he was dreading. He knew they were going to be extremely busy, and quite frankly, he wanted to call out, seeing as if he was already late. His thoughts were briefly distracted by his black tabby, quietly pawing at his legs, ready for its breakfast. He made sure to fill up its bowl before he dashed out the door, returning twice to grab whatever he forgot the first few times, and he was off. He breathed a sigh of relief as the last customer left. It had been the best sales day of the year, and they were obviously going to celebrate. He had been contemplating going on home, but he needed to unwind too. He had no serious obligations the next day, so he could stay out as late as he wanted. So when they asked, he happily agreed to go with them. He couldn't open his eyes. He was barely conscious as it was. He slept lazily around until he managed to shut the alarm off before he rolled onto his stomach and buried his face in his pillow. The door creaked as his black tabby walked in and jumped on his back, where it curled up close to his head. The hot breath in his ear lulled him back to sleep. The doorbell continued to ring. He crawled out of bed and made his way to the front door. It was his next-door neighbor, a kind woman in her late 70s, who still worked. She was in her business suit holding up a trash bag. "Oh, did I wake you up? I thought you were usually up by now." I usually am," he said groggily, "but they let me have today off." "Well, I hate to come bearing such bad news so early in the morning," she said, patting his head, "but I ran over your dear tabby last night when I got home. I came straight over to tell you, but you weren't home." He stared at her for a few seconds before their silence was broken by its footsteps. I'm a psychiatrist by profession, and over the course of my career, I have dealt with many people of strange and unusual problems. However, one case in particular disturbed me more than any other. There was a family of 3 who lived next door to me. They were a married couple in their 60s, and they had a son who was about 30 years old. The son was somebody who was introverted, reclusive, and isolated, someone who was withdrawn from social contact. We never saw the son. People who are like that usually lock themselves away in their room and avoid others. I didn't hear about his condition directly from his parents. I assumed they didn't want to discuss it. In Japan, people are very concerned about appearances, and having a son who was like that is an embarrassment. As the days passed, their son went out less and less. Eventually, he never came out of the house at all. Every night from his bedroom window, the furious voice of his mother could be heard screaming and shouting at him. Whenever I met the poor woman, she smiled and said hello, but the strain was showing in her face. She became pale and haggard. It has been almost 6 years since anyone had seen the son. One day, the father knocked on my door and asked me to come to his house. He knew I was a psychiatrist, and since we were neighbors, I decided to do what I could to help the family. When we got to the front door, the mother was there waiting for us. She led me upstairs to her son's room. She banged on the door with her fist and shouted, "We're coming in!" Then she burst into the room and shrieked, "Are you going to sleep forever? Get up, you lazy good-for-nothing!" Before I knew what was happening, she grabbed a golf club and started beating the sleeping figure under the covers. For a moment I was struck dumb as she rained blow down blow after blow. Then I sprang into action, grabbing the golf club and wrestling her out of the room. I hurried back inside to check on her son's injuries, but when I pulled back the bed covers, I couldn't believe my eyes. Lying beneath the sheets was a mummified corpse. I stood there in absolute astonishment, staring at the pile of bones and leathery old skin. The father approached me, hanging his head in shame. "It was my wife that I wanted you to see," he said. "This has been going on for years. I can't take it anymore." If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.